Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Directions Mag Geospatial webinar, today sponsored by our friends at Karem. I'm Barbara Duke, Managing Editor here at Directions Magazine, joined by our Assistant Webinar Producer, Lynette Qualia. If you have any questions about your connection, drop us a note in the chat, and we'll do our best to help you. We encourage you to stop by directionsmag.com for news, articles, podcasts, and of course, more geospatial webinars. We are excited to welcome back Joe and Scott from Karem. We are looking forward to learning more about improving our geocoding within our existing GIS. Welcome, gentlemen. We are glad to have you with us today and excited to learn more. Joe, over to you.
Thanks, Barbara, and thanks to everyone who's joining us today. Really appreciate your time and listening to us about enhancing your geocoding and not disrupting your existing GIS ecosystem. As Barbara said, I'm Joe Francica. I'm the Senior Director of Geospatial Strategy at Karem. I'm joined by Scott DiGiacinto, who is our Senior Enterprise Geospatial Expert. So you're here because you want to talk about geocoding. So are we, and we are prepared to do just that. We're going to provide some background information on the technology that we'll demo. I'll do that first, and why we think it's an option for you to consider if you're looking for both to standardize on geocoding solution for either your department or if your organization as a whole needs to rely on a single geocoding solution, or if you are just looking for a more accurate geocoder but don't want to swap it out to a different platform to perform that part of the workflow. Before we get into the demo, I did want to take just a minute to tell you a little bit about Karem. So let me do that briefly. A lot of people don't necessarily know about us, but we provide a number of services to our clients, one of them being geocoding. And this slide kind of describes that in some detail. And we're going to show you one of the products that we service and the ways to deploy it, either, as I said, either as an on-premise geocoder or via an API. But just taking a second to either explain further our services, geocoding is really foundational to many projects, but so is data quality and address validation. We also provide enhanced geospatial analytics and spatial data science, and we do this especially for clients where modeling is required. We also provide a number of managed hosting services for organizations, especially those that that want specific software and data solutions managed externally. And we'll do custom web mapping, but also systems integration for organizations that are working in a mixed geospatial environment, like we discussed back in November. On November 11th, we did a webinar with Directions. And if you'd like to know how to work in a mixed GIS environment, please go to that webinar. It's hosted at the Directions Mag website. So a lot of these services may not be provided by your preferred geospatial vendor, and that's why many people look to Karem. We are experts in ArcGIS, MapInfo. We also work in Oracle, SAP, and SQL Server environments. So we understand the complexities of working within an enterprise IT infrastructure. Okay, let's go to our first poll. Barbara, if you want to kick that off, we have a very simple question. We just really want to know to choose your most challenging geocoding issue, and this could be accuracy, it could be coverage if you've got, if you're only looking for US or Canada or globally. A lot of people want to integrate with other GIS software again, but don't want to swap it out to work on a different platform. Or you may be working with a CIO or a chief data officer in a very large enterprise IT environment. So just choose one of those options. That'll give us an idea of what's going on. So Barbara will maybe take a look at the results and see what's going on.
Yeah, so we'll give folks just a couple more seconds here to click and make their selections, but a very clear winner here. So let's look at these results. 52% accuracy, widely the most challenged.
That's great. That's really great to know. So that'll help us when we get to the Q&A. Maybe we'll address some of those issues. Okay, so glad to see everybody answer the poll question like that. It does help us. So geocoding is a commodity, except it really isn't. There are many geocoders out there, many that are available. Not all of them provide the most consistent accuracy, again, as you said to us in the poll. The reason is the base data. And whatever base data is used by the geocoder, which provides really the underlying positional accuracy. So inaccurate positioning can really impact many different things. We'll give an example here. Insurance companies, for example, rely on accurate addressing for underwriting. If you're not in the flood zone, your premiums differ. If you're in a flood zone, you're going to realize a difference in your premium cost. Public safety agencies rely on accurate geocoding for routing to emergencies. You don't want to be banging on the wrong door in an emergency situation. This is where accuracy comes into play. So choosing the most accurate geocoder, but not disrupting your current configuration. That's really what we're here to talk about. And that's what the demonstration will really show us today. In particular, we're going to be talking about Precisely's spectrum geocoding. If you're not familiar with Precisely, Precisely is a company that was the result of a merger between Pitney Bowes and SyncSort. They renamed themselves Precisely back in May. So many organizations choose Precisely for a couple of different reasons. And you're going to hear us talk about a couple of different things here that I'm going to explain. And one of them is the master location data. MLD is a multi-sourced set that includes about 200 million plus property locations in the US, several million more in Canada. It includes postal and non-postal. And when I refer to non-postal, what I refer to as delivery points. That's points of delivery, especially important today during the holiday season. You want to get your package delivered to you. Other things that they refer to are things like gated communities, high rises, campuses, etc. Positional accuracy now is a function of this multi-source foundation. So accuracy is tied to generally the rooftop level or the parcel level, generally not the street interpolated level, but we can drop down to that level of accuracy if we need to. That's called a stepwise or cascading level of geocoding. MLD is delivered as an encrypted binary file, and that's part of Precisely's geocoding software solutions. The other thing you're going to hear us talk about is the address fabric. Now, address fabric is an open version of MLD, and usually delivered as a flat file, like a CSV. Can be used with your own locator solution, like if you're doing databases like a SQL Server or an analytics program like a Tableau. So just to be clear, MLD is the basis for Precisely's geocoder, and address fabric is the raw data. Either is available to purchase. How users deploy them is the difference. And we're going to show you mostly how that's done generally using as an API. But the bottom line is users can standardize on a common address data foundation and enhance your existing geocoding solution with address fabric or one of Precisely's options for geocoding. And specifically, the Precisely geocoding software solution we're going to show you is the Spectrum Geocoding Connector for ArcGIS. So we'll be connecting to via a simple interface to access the API, but within 3 different GIS solutions. We'll show you Arc, we'll show you MapInfo, show you QGIS, and for those of you who are Arc users, you can see on the right-hand side of the 4 geocoding operations that we support. So at this point, we hope you'll take away from the demonstration is the ability to leverage your current investment in ArcGIS and other GIS solutions, but get the highest possible geocoding match rates and positional accuracy. So there we have it. That's the foundation. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Scott DiGiacinto. Scott, take it away. It's all yours.
Okie dokie. Share my screen. All right, everybody should be able to see my ArcGIS portal. So we're going to show you, like Joe said, connecting to, I'll refer to it in my part as hosted internal, hosted external, and the raw content or the locator. So in a sense of hosted internal, that's where you would have the geocoding engine installed locally on your own prem. And the way you configure that is in your ArcGIS portal, there is under utility services, there is geocoding. And once it's installed, it's really, you just put a URL in here. And once that URL is placed, then actually all your other Esri applications will be able to access that geocoding. The benefit of hosted internal is that you have unlimited usage. So the hosted external, that's usually the buy the drink thing, and that's where if you have many millions, it can get expensive. So this is a way that if you have a whole lot of data to process, it's very manageable because it's a set number. So once I've got that configured though, all my other Esri applications can utilize that locator. So if I go over to my online map, you can see I now have my Spectrum geocoder enabled. And if I want to, I can go ahead and start typing an address, and it will give me some pop-up type ahead. And of course, throw it down, put it on my location, my parcel or my rooftop. I can type in any other type of, or any other locations. And same idea. Or we can go ahead and do an entire data set. So I'll do an entire data set. This is the batch side of stuff where I'm going to go ahead and grab a file and bring it in. I'm going to tell it that I want to go against my Spectrum geocoder, so I have the control of which one I want to do. And I will get my configured fields. And it's going out, geocoding 500 of them, plopping them down. I'll just go ahead and take the standard here because I'm not too worried about it. And there's my data. I can go ahead and, just like with any other thing, I can go ahead and look at the information that it gives me back. And this is really replicating the returns that you get on the online sense. So you'll see, as we go to the next step, when we go to the ArcGIS Pro, then I can go ahead and get more information. I can get all my other fields, but I'll get more fields in the ArcGIS Pro. So let's just jump over to the ArcGIS Pro right now. And in the ArcGIS Pro, we can really do the same thing. So when this is ArcGIS Pro, when I load it up, it's going out to the portal, and the portal is saying, what geocoders do you have? So I can go ahead, same idea. I can run a data set of the same file, and you'll see, same idea. I tell it which geocoder I want to use. So there's a lot of consistency here. I'm going to go ahead and again set my other fields. And it'll go ahead and put the data on the map for me. So it's working really just like your standard, using it through the online services. And now you can see I actually have more information this way. I'm going to have the different long and short that's returned. So again, we're emulating what comes back in the various different formats whenever you're using really the Esri online. So it's again a consistent feel to everything. Now, what's really behind the scenes here? These are the locations that we geocoded, but if I go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a bit. And this is actually Fabric. This is the data that's truly behind the whole geocoding process here. And this data set, I can go ahead and get back some information on it. And it's also the data set down here. So you can see if I want to bring this internal and make it a locator. So you guys want to go ahead and create your own locator. Many companies do that through the Esri platform. Then you have all the different parts of your address associated with the points. So this is synonymous with, sometimes with a locator, you may have streets from a local county. Maybe you purchase the streets from TomTom or here. Maybe you get points from TomTom or here. And those are good vendors. But what the MLD is bringing here and the Fabric is bringing here is actually those and others all put together. So each individual can compete against the other and say, well, I have this county better. And there's always something missing. So any one of those vendors can have points in a county that's not nearly as good as the other guys. So this is actually takes the best of all those worlds, and that's what's really the enhancement of it. And you can see as I go through here, I'm going to have these various different apartment locations, and that's the other thing about Fabric. Fabric isn't just the parcel boundaries or the parcel point. The Fabric tries to get all the physical locations. So any one location, this might in another parcel data set be just one single location, the centroid, as opposed to possibly 40 different locations because there's 40 different businesses or apartments there. So when you're setting up that locator, now you have that visualization into the unit numbers, et cetera, which is very helpful. And there's also indications on what's the source. Is the source parcel, or is the source actually a building? So you get some good sense there. So the Fabric, if you do use a locator setup where you manage your own data and you configure it, it can really enhance that side of things. If you don't and you use a service, that's all built into the system. So you get the benefit there as well. All right, and then for the hosted side of stuff, hosted external, same idea. And the benefit here is, even though there's different ways that we're consuming it. Here we're consuming the hosted external by using a service outside, and its security protocol uses OAuth 2 in here. So that's why we have a slightly different interface. But this is supported via a Python script that you can get, and really the way you put it in is you just go to your tools, add a tool, it plops it in, and the whole interface is already built with that. Just got to fill these in. And we geocode it. And it's really going to be largely the same, just these are a smaller data set spread across the US. Turn that off so you get more. And we'll see our data spread across the US over here. So this is consuming it via a service. The codes over here, just so you know, they're just sample codes. If you grab them in your thing, it won't get you very far. And then we can jump over to 2 more applications. We can jump over to QGIS, which is used a lot. In QGIS, it's the same idea. It's a plugin. This is a Python script that we pull, and in our Python, it's already got the interface created for it, and we can go ahead, put in our location, tell us where it's going to come out as, and then same idea, run it. So very consistent across the board. This stuff is, as I mentioned, already created and supported for you. So you don't have to create these Python scripts. You don't have to edit this, etc. It's already available. And in the replies back that you get for this, you have indications of how well it did or did not geocode. Each one of these parts represents a part of the address. So let's say the pre-directional, the street name, the street type, and then the S's represent something like the physical accuracy. S8 represents that it's off of a point from the MLD or the Fabric, which those can kind of be used synonymous with each other. And then we also have the exact same idea in MI Pro. In MI Pro, we have the geocoding. You set it up, you connect to your account, and again, it's using the exact same thing. So whether you're doing it hosted internal, whether you're doing it hosted external, it's the exact same engine underneath the hood. So you get a consistent response back, and both of those hosted external, you can hit those if you're not a GIS person. Now, most of us on this call are probably GIS people, which is why we focus on this type of interface. But if you're not a GIS person, then you might say, well, one of my issues has been getting people that don't have this to be able to consume it. So there are endpoints that are exposed in those other applications, or those endpoints that are exposed that other developers can hit. And with that, again, since it's the exact same engine behind the scenes, if you're just hitting a base interface for address geocoding or address validation, et cetera, you're getting consistent results as what your GIS team is getting. So consistent across the board. And again, not asking you to change your underlying GIS at all, working with your current underlying GIS. So, Joe, anything I missed?
I think that's good, Scott. No, I think we're right on track. So I think we'll go right into our first poll. Barbara, if you want to pull that up. The first poll, second poll is very simple. Are you considering a change to your current geocoding solution? So just give us an idea of whether what you've seen today is of interest to you. We certainly love to be able to help you out, configure your solution the way you want it. That's another part of our service. We do also do a lot of benchmarking of geocoders. So we've mentioned a few here today, precisely obviously being one that we're showing. But again, if you're considering other geocoders, we can do benchmark as a service. It's one of the things we offer. So again, hope you enjoyed the demonstration, and we want to be considerate of your time. This is going to be a 30-minute webinar, and if you just give us your answer there, we'd appreciate it. But let's go right into the Q&A. If you've got any questions for us, please put them in the chat window, and we'll be able to answer your questions in any way we can.
Yeah, so question number one, Scott, I believe this is for you. How long does it take to implement the tool in ArcGIS?
So in ArcGIS, it's actually very straightforward. The only thing it takes any time is the installing if you have an internally hosted, which is still, that's a very standard install. So once that's installed, like we said on your portal, you pass the URL. If you have it in ArcGIS, we have those Pythons. You go to Toolbox and you add a toolbox, you point to a certain file, and that's really it. The interface is there. It comes up in one of your processing capabilities and consume it.
Nice. And then that kind of leads into the next question. Is the configuration different if you're using both ArcGIS and QGIS?
They're different in the sense that that interface you have is slightly different because the interface goes along with the native application. So the way you get to it through the toolboxes in Arc or through add-ins in QGIS, that could be considered a difference, but it truly is very, very similar because there are Pythons that are run by both. And again, the interface, one of them may say, what's your region one may say state, but very, very similar. Very easy.
Excellent. And another question here, can you use the address fabric for marketing applications?
Yes, you can. It has, as you saw, part of it has the target to physical locations. So we have absolutely have had customers that maybe use demographics, et cetera, to find locations that are scoring well for them. And then they may use address fabric to find addresses to then approach. We've had telecommunications companies that have used address fabric for homes passed reports. They drop their plant in their lines for, be it gas or be it fiber, and who is within their small buffer that they have off of that they can provide it to for various reports, USAC, et cetera. So it can actually be used in a lot of different ways when you're looking for a list of where are addresses that I want to either consider as possible customers or that I want to approach and say, please buy my service. This is why I'm so great.
Excellent. A question about batch address geocoding. What happens if any of the addresses do not conform with the standard?
So if they don't geocode, you will get a response back of the ones that didn't geocode. In the QGIS, I can configure it that it will actually create a file for me. My sample didn't have any that didn't geocode, which is why I didn't see anything in there. But you can configure where that stuff goes, so you can get an answer back on it. And if it doesn't geocode in the sense of as accurate as you would like, that code can also give you information on what you need to fix about it.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us today. We hope that you go make it a great day. Tell a friend about Karem and Directions Magazine. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, everybody.